Greetings and welcome to Bible Basics. Once again, I'm going to continue my video series on the almighty power of God. My last video got kind of cut off. I don't know, I just keep pressing the wrong buttons and cut the video off, unfortunately. So I'm just going to continue the topic where I left off. Is that, my second point, which was that God's power is, it's shown, you can actually see it. So the verse I was on before I got cut off was Psalm 71, Psalm 71:18. So Psalm chapter 71, verse 18. Now also when I'm old and gray-headed, O God, forsake me not until I have showed thy strength unto this generation and thy power to everyone that is to come. So you want to be a good influence. That's basically it. You want to be a good influence to other Christians. That's just it, like to the next generation. And um, that's kind of how that works. Like, when you're a new Christian, you have a mentor and someone guides you along the right path. They teach you how to be, a good Christian. And because someone else showed them, and you pass on that knowledge. Like, what does it mean to do right? And you need good role models in Christian circles, and you want to pass that on. And at some point, you should be a mature Christian yourself that can lead others. And once you've obtained enough knowledge, unfortunately, a lot of Christians, they just never get to that point. They just stay spiritual babies their whole life, and they never grow, and they're always on the milk. They never get to the meat. The Bible talks about that. I forget if it was Paul or Peter that brought that up in the New Testament, that it's time for you to have meat, and you're still on the milk, your spiritual babies, and that can last for years. Some people just never get out of that. So you want to show the power of God to the next generation. You want to show them what it's like to be a good Christian. So that's God's power, like through you. God can show his power through you to others. So yeah, that was my main point. I don't remember if I got to that in the last video. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. My next point was Matthew 24:30. Matthew chapter 24, verse 30. 24:30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. That's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for those days. We're waiting for that day when God comes back in his power and glory, and when we don't have to worry about all of this stuff, this sin, just like all the things that can possibly go wrong. There's just so much that can go wrong in life, and we're waiting for heaven. It'll be sinless, it'll be perfect. We won't have to worry about everything that can potentially go wrong, and there's so much that can go wrong. When Jesus comes back, then it'll be amazing. So anyway, that's what we're waiting for. That God's power will be shown. Right now we can't see God, unfortunately. We can't see it. So we believe in a God that we cannot see. But that will not always be the case. And that's really the main point, that's why atheists and agnostics and all the non-Christians, they don't want to believe in God, because they want to see something. They want to physically see it, and that's their whole reason for not believing in God. And because the proof around them that God is real isn't enough. They want more. They always want more. They don't demand that from evolution. They don't demand that from science. They have almost no proof for a lot of the things they believe in. They believe in millions and billions of years. They haven't seen millions and billions of years. There's no way to prove that. None of their dating methods work. None of them are effective. None of this stuff works. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, got distracted again by something. Anyway, so let's continue what I was talking about. Um, yeah, Matthew 24:30. We've got here. So yeah, like we're waiting for that day. Like you want to wait for that day when the Son of Man comes back um, with power. So yeah, so I mean, like that's what I was talking about. It's like this what I was talking about is that it's visible. Like you can see it. Like right now we can't see God. We can't see Jesus Christ, but one day we will. And we still have the entire creation, all of creation, the earth, all the animals, all the science around us. Like it's just showing us that God is real. And and then the evolutionists and people that believe in the Big Bang Theory, they believe in millions and billions of years. Well, they haven't seen millions and billions of years either. They haven't seen it. Their dating methods don't even work. So this is like, it's a religion. It's faith. It requires faith to believe that millions and billions of years actually existed, and that it took millions and billions of years for us to have dinosaurs and all of that stuff. That's a religion. It's not even science. I think that's what people really, really fail to understand is that, like, you believe in a religion. You do not believe in science. Um, so what requires more faith? For me to believe that there was a God that created everything, or to believe that something popped out, like everything popped out of nothing, that it took millions of billions of years, eventually just tack on a couple million billion years, and eventually something will happen. Anything could happen. A monkey will develop a brain and become a human. Like just add a couple million of just a couple million years, right? Um, it sounds ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but in the scientific community, this is called science. It's ridiculous. It doesn't follow any kinds of rules of logic, but this is what it's taught in the scientific community. And yeah, humanity can be very intelligent, but humanity can also be very stupid. This is one of those cases where it's extremely stupid. So anyway, what I was getting at is that you can see the power of God. Like it is visible. You can see it, and one day we will see Jesus Christ in the flesh. We will see God in the flesh. We just can't see it right now. Or actually, I don't know. I don't think saying in the flesh is the correct word. In the spirit, because we will have a spiritual body. This flesh, it's just gonna evaporate, die. So you can have a spiritual body, and you will see it. Like all those things in the Bible that have been written over the last couple thousands of years, you'll actually see them come to fruition, and that's what you should be waiting for. Okay. So anyway, so all of this, it's kind of random, haphazard. Um, so yeah, let's just continue. So I'm going to finally get to my third point. So my first point was that God's power is supreme. My second point was that it is shown. Now I'm finally going to get to my third point, and that is that God's power is scoffed at. So I was kind of already getting at, like, God's power is scoffed at. There's a lot of people that underestimate God and don't take God seriously. They don't take what He says seriously. So first, so what I was going to say now is that God's power is not understood. So I'm going to read a verse from Job, Job chapter 26, verse 14. So Job 26:14. See here, what do we got? Yeah, so Job chapter 26, verse 14. Lo, these are parts of his ways, but how little a portion is heard of him. The thunder of his power, who can understand? So yeah, before that, Job was explaining, all this stuff about God. A lot of the arguments Job has with his friends, if you can call them friends, is all these arguments about, like, oh, the power of God, or how, do you understand God? God's so amazing. God created all of this stuff, and it just all these huge long lists. And then it says, like, these are part of his ways. Like, we can only grasp a small percentage of the awesomeness of God's power and everything God's created. Like, just the world around us is just so amazing. If you just analyze a little details, there's just so much. You could spend your whole life trying to just analyze the world around us, and you'd still barely touch it. I mean, there's so many scientists over the world that have studied real science, like actual real science, where they just study the world, and they study things that actually exist. Like, study this animal, the biology of this animal and how it lives and all that. That's real science. Those are observable facts. This animal exists. We can prove things, and you could see like, wow, this animal is amazing. Like the giraffe. Like, why is there this animal with this super long neck? Like, it's crazy, and it works somehow. And the giraffe's head doesn't explode because of in its body, the blood pressure is different at different levels. And if and the blood pressure changes, like if the giraffe puts its head down, the blood pressure in its head changes, which it has to, because if it didn't, then the head would explode. Or like the blood pressure at the legs is super strong, and that the thick skin protects it. Like, there's all this stuff. It's like, you don't really think about it, but it's like the biology works in such a way that the giraffe can live. Otherwise, it would explode because it wouldn't work. I mean, if you don't, like, it's kind of hard to explain what I'm talking about, but like, if you study biology, you'd understand, like, it's like, there's a lot of things you just take for granted. Like, your body just works the way it works. No, like, just for me to move this arm, like, there's actually a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Like, you don't really think about it, but there's actually a lot going on right now. And your body just does it. Like, you don't think about it. Like, your body just works, right? Like, it just works. But it is very, very impressive how all of this works together. And so this is God's power. God's power makes all this work. The world work. It makes your body work like it should. When your body doesn't work, you feel it. Like, it's like, wow, like, you just take it for granted. Like, yeah, I can move. I have legs that walk. Like, some people don't. Some people have, like, we have eyes. I can see with my eyes. Some people don't. Some people can't see. And like, you just take for granted all these things that God gives you. So yeah, God's power is not understood. Like, it just isn't. And some people mock at it because they don't understand God. They don't understand the awesomeness of God. But we can see it. It is visible. So yeah, let's see. I'm going to read some more verses here from Matthew chapter 22. So yeah, I'm going to read Matthew 22 right now. So Matthew 22. Let's see where yeah. Matthew chapter 22. Matthew 22. Let's see. Matthew chapter 22, verse 29. Jesus answered and said unto them, Ye do err, not knowing the scriptures nor the power of God. Exactly. The scientific community, they or the community, some people in the scientific community are actually Christians, which is good, but many members of the scientific community, they don't believe the Bible. They don't know the Bible. There's actually a lot of people that don't know the Bible. They'll say stuff like, "Oh, I know about your God," or "You believe this," or "You believe that," and I'm like, "No, that thing you're saying, it's not in the Bible." Or well, Christians used to persecute people and start wars and all this stuff. And it's like, no, you don't know history. Those aren't Christians. Those are Catholics. That's not the same thing. So it's like a lot of people just don't know history. They don't know how to properly name things, and that creates a lot of problems because people don't know history. People don't know what the Bible says, but they like to think that they do, and they make claims that aren't true. So a lot of these people, unsaved people, they're going to question God's existence, because a lot of it has to do with their understanding is very limited. They don't actually understand God. If they actually read the Bible, they actually studied it, they actually understood history properly, then that would be different. Then their opinion might be completely different. They might say like, yeah, you know what, this actually makes sense. But people are basing a lot of their decisions off of like just false impressions of God's book, and that's why they don't. They're making the wrong assumptions. Basically, like I think I mentioned in a previous video, but you got this. There's this thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect, I think that's what it's called, Dunning-Kruger. It's this thing in psychology where people are confident, they're overconfident, but they don't know anything, but they think they do. So that's the Dunning-Kruger effect, where your confidence exceeds your knowledge. And I don't think I know any field that has it more than Christianity. It's everywhere. The Dunning-Kruger effect. There's so many people writing books. There's all these Christian authors that know nothing, like literally nothing. The Bible, like we probably got some little kid in Sunday school that actually knows more Bible than some of these people writing these books about Christianity and how to live life correctly. And some of it is just bad advice. It's just based on like traditions of men. The Bible warns about that, and traditions of men, science falsely so called, psychology, Christian psychology, stuff that just doesn't make any sense. It's not biblical. Like sometimes it sounds good, but it's actually not biblical. So you have this Dunning-Kruger effect in Christianity. It's so strong, so prevalent. That's like one of the main goals of this channel, is to just eliminate like ignorance in the Bible. That's what this channel is really about. It's about eliminating ignorance, because a lot of people are ignorant of what's actually in the Bible. They haven't bothered to study it. They hear stuff that sounds good, but it's wrong. Like there's a lot of stuff that sounds good, but is actually not biblical. It's everywhere. There's a lot of things you probably believe that are like some of them are harmless, but they're wrong. Like just various traditions. So at some point, maybe I'll make an entire video like false assumptions about Christianity, like top 10 or top 20, and I could probably go on for a very long time just about like top misconceptions about the Bible, not understood. So yeah, here Matthew 22:29. Did I even read the verse? Yeah, Jesus, you do err not knowing the scriptures nor the power of God. Yeah, so true. And it's actually I wrote here in my notes. It's actually undermined by the apostles. So sometimes even the people like the Christians themselves don't fully understand God, and they don't fully understand what the Bible says. Like they can make mistakes, that's normal. If you taught like 20 years down the line, you might have changed your opinion or your thoughts on some things because you learn more Bible. You learn that something was wrong. Like the stuff I'm saying now is different from what I would be said like 15 years ago. That would be different. I'd have a different viewpoint because I didn't know Bible. I know way more now than I did back 15 years ago. And I have sources now to back it up. Like I have knowledge, I've time, experience, and all of that plays a role. So yeah, my next verse, Romans 1:19. Let's see, Romans chapter 1. Let's see here. Yeah, so Romans chapter 1, verse 19. Yeah, Romans chapter 1, verse 19. Let's read this. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them. That which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them. Let's see. Oh yeah, verse 20. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Yeah, this is actually what I think I mentioned it a few minutes ago, but this is a big thing. We see God's creation all around us. It's literally everywhere. And that's one way God speaks to the world. It's like everything's amazing around you. This didn't just magically happen. There had to have been a supernatural power that created all of this, because the fact that everything works together so nicely, it just doesn't make sense. Just if you just think about it logically, nothing should exist really. Like if you think about it logically, like everything creates something. Like humans create other humans. Chickens make more chickens. everything makes things in its own image, right? You know, you don't have a dolphin giving birth to a chicken. Like, it just doesn't make sense, right? Like, yeah, that's logical, right? Everything gives birth to things in its own image, human, you know, and, you know, atoms make atoms and, you know, all of this stuff. But there's all these laws like conservation of energy and all these things like physics. Like, I'm not a physics expert, you know, but if I knew more physics, I could probably even make a better argument than I can right now, because I would have more. Me knowing physics, I'd probably be able to back up the Bible even more, because I could prove the, you know, hypocrisy of science even better. um, so yeah, I mean, it is important to get the right science. There's actually a lot of Christians that actually know way more than I do about science and have actually studied it, you know, have PhDs. There's a great book called The Evolution Cruncher. It's like 900 pages. I have it. I just never really got around to reading all of it, but it's about 900 pages, really thick. And basically it just disproves evolution. It's like 900 pages of examples and proofs to disprove evolution. This book exists. How many people have read it? How many atheists have actually read this book? How many people even know about its existence? But no, you're still fed the same thing in school, even though there's plenty of material to disprove it with science. And these books exist; they're out there, but people aren't reading them. People just, you know, say, oh, it's, you know, people just kind of, you know, they're in their echo chamber. That's basically what it is. People are in their echo chamber. They believe one way, and you're not going to change your mind because you're obviously wrong. Even though when there is evidence to prove you wrong, but you're like, nope, ignore it. It doesn't exist. So just know, if you're an honest skeptic, then there is material for you to get a valid viewpoint. Most skeptics are not honest skeptics. They're dishonest. If you're an honest skeptic, you want the truth. The truth is out there. God is literally showing His creation everywhere, and then there's material you can read to get better information. Most people just don't bother. Most people don't bother with this stuff. They just believe whatever they've been taught by most people. They just go along with the crowd. Whatever the crowd believes, they'll believe. So if the crowd said the world is 10 billion or 5 billion, they don't really care. If they said 5 billion is the truth, they're like, yeah, okay, it's 5 billion. If they change their mind, say later it's 10 billion, they'll go like, yeah, okay, 10 billion. And then if they change it to some other number later, they'll be like, okay, yeah, I'll believe you. So they're just gonna go. They're not gonna like study like, oh, what is the truth? You know, they'll just go with whatever the crowd says. They'll just believe them, without actually like using any kind of critical thinking or thought, or actually just, you know, thinking, right? It's overrated these days. I don't know, unfortunately. So yeah, basically the creation is all around you. It's everywhere. So you can find out the truth. God is showing His presence everywhere. So and even then it's still scoffed at. It's God's everywhere, but He's still scoffed at. His truth is scoffed at. Like, basically, you know, like, just because you can't see God doesn't mean He's not there. You can't see gravity. You can't see atoms and little molecules unless you use a microscope. So you have to like look very carefully, right? But gravity, like, you can't see gravity. There's a lot of things you can't see. They're invisible to the eye. It doesn't mean they're not there. They're still there. Just because you can't see them doesn't mean they're not there. The spiritual world exists. You can't see it. It doesn't register on your eyesight that there is a spiritual world, but it's there. All the different rays, like the gamma rays, the infrared, ultraviolet, all of that, like, it exists. It's been proven it exists, but you can't see it. You can't see it. Now, some other animal, they have different eyes, different wavelengths. They see stuff you can't see, and there's stuff you can see that they can't see. Same thing with your ears. There's certain frequencies you can pick up that other animals can't. Cats can pick up frequencies that we can't, because they, you know, their register is different. Their hearing is different. They'll pick up different wavelengths. As you get older, your ability to, the wavelengths you can hear are actually less. There's actually like, so a teenager can actually hear certain wavelengths that like an older person can't. And that changes. Like, it doesn't mean those sounds don't exist. They're there. You just can't hear them. So likewise, I mean, it's kind of a dumb proof. It's like, well, I can't see God. It's like, there's a lot of things you can't see or hear. Doesn't mean they're not there. So, and one day you will see it, right? One day you will have the spiritual eyesight to see the God that you have not seen all this time. He'll finally register on your eyes, on your spiritual eyesight. You'll finally see him. We just can't right now because that's our body. We're not going to see God. So yeah, I mean, just I don't know, like how there's a lot to say here, but God's power is going to be scoffed at. It just is, but you just have to. Noah dealt with an apostate like he dealt with a bad, like for 120 years he kept building the ark. He kept putting up with discouragement and nobody believing him. Christians are in that boat. We have it a lot easier than Noah did. We actually have the Bible. We actually know what the future is gonna, we know what the future is gonna be like in the future. We know how things are gonna turn out, and yet many Christians are still very weak, very spiritually weak, very weak-kneed. They won't stand up for the faith, despite having evidence of knowing what the future is going to be like. They still have a very difficult time. So just know that you have a Bible, you have foundation to stand on. So you don't need to be weak. You don't need to bow down to the gods of the world, to science, falsely so-called. You have the Bible. You have a strong foundation. So you don't need to give in to the world. They're gonna laugh at you. They're gonna scoff at you. The scientific community will scoff at God and the Bible and anybody that believes that the world's only been around for 6,000 years, that humanity's only been around for 6,000 years, that we didn't come from monkeys. I say they're crazy. They think I'm crazy. We can agree. We both think we're crazy. So it's like they think I'm crazy for believing the world's been around, like humans have only been around for 6,000 years. I think they're crazy for thinking we came from monkeys or fish or whatever they decide to change it to next time. It's ridiculous. So yeah, just know that that's how it is. Yeah. So anyway, so I think I'm done at this point. Let's end this video. It's almost 30 minutes. I got one more section here. My fourth point is going to be that it saves souls. So I'm going to make one more video on the almighty power of God, and then I'll continue to my next topic. So I have a lot here. I'm gonna keep trying to post videos. I know it's been about a week since I posted, so I want to be more consistent and try to get maybe one video a day and try to grow this channel. Trying to make a logo now. That's going to be my next goal, is to get like a logo, and we'll see. Look at different ways to just keep expanding, growing the channel. So yep, see you next time.